In this video, you're going to learn why self-distraction is easy. You've probably never heard anyone say it quite like that, but it's true, and it's something that you've noticed yourself. If you plan to do something important and set aside time to do it, you can just about bet that when the time comes, you'll find other things to do instead. Hi, I'm Dr. Bruce Hoag, and I'm from psychhacks.com. And in this video, I want to talk to you about how easy it is for you to distract yourself and what you can do about it. Now, if you like videos like this, then please subscribe and click the bell and select all so that you'll receive all the new videos as I post them. Now let's get started. It's unlikely that you've ever decided to distract yourself. Instead, it's something that happens accidentally. You see something, and at that moment you choose to do it rather than what you intended to do. And you've probably noticed that this happens a lot more often than you'd like it to. You know, there's a myth that's widely accepted as truth, and it's the idea that we're able to multitask. Originally, the idea of multitasking came from the computer industry, but even there the truth was distorted. Computers were never able to multitask. They could only alternate between different commands, but they did it very quickly, and so that made it look like that's what they were doing. Multi-core computers changed all that. Each core can perform a different task. The more cores, the more tasks that can occur simultaneously. The computer that I use, for example, has 4 cores, and so that means that 4 different instructions can be implemented at the same time. The question is, can you do that? Can you do the same thing? Well, yes and no. You could probably argue that when your autonomous nervous system and the activities of the organs in your body work together, then multitasking is occurring, but you don't really have any control over that. But if that's what multitasking means to you, then you're right. You can do it. But usually that's not what we mean, is it? Instead, we mean that you can focus your mind on more than one thing and give each one your full attention. And you and I both know that that's not true. Take driving, for instance. When you're driving and listening to your favorite music, you're pretty much on autopilot. But if your phone rings or you get a text, then your attention is drawn to that. That's what makes talking on your phone and texting while you drive so dangerous. Suddenly, you have to devote more concentration and more focus on your phone than you do on your driving. It's why there are laws against this. The concentration that's required to do both is greater than what's available. That means that you have to choose which one you're going to think about. What about when you're working? Few interruptions are so minor that you'll be able to concentrate with the same intensity after you've been interrupted. If you're immersed in something, say figuring out how to paint a picture, and someone wanders by to talk to you about what you're planning to do this weekend, you either have to tell them you're busy or stop doing what you've been doing and answer their question. But after the conversation, you'll find it's really hard. It takes a lot of effort to get back to where you were before you were interrupted. How often have you gone into one room and forgotten why you were there? Maybe you've gone into the kitchen to make a cup of coffee, but when you got there, you saw all the dishes from breakfast and you remembered that you needed to clear them up. So you did. And then you went back to doing what you were doing before. Maybe you're reading a book. And then when you reached for your coffee, you remembered that you forgot to make it. When you're focused on one thing, then that's all you can think about, and it's why multitasking doesn't work. But it's even easier than that. You can accidentally, but deliberately distract yourself. How do you do that? By ignoring your plans, by throwing them out of the window. Suppose you've set aside 2 hours to work on a project. As you're expecting an email from a couple of friends, you decide to open your inbox first. Your friends haven't replied, but there are 3 other messages that get your attention. One tells you about a cool new product that you were looking at on Amazon. Another is from your bank to tell you that your credit card statement is available online. The third is from someone you knew years ago and haven't heard from. Do you have the discipline to ignore those messages and close your inbox? Or how about this one? You decide that you're going to look at your favorite news site. You see that some group you've never heard of is protesting in a town whose name you don't recognize in a country where a friend of yours used to live. Do you have the discipline to ignore it and get to work? Probably not. Chances are good that in both cases, you won't close your inbox or the news website. If you're like most people, then you'll look at those 3 emails. After all, it'll only take a minute, right? You might even pay the credit card bill. And what about your long lost friend? There's no harm in catching up with that person, right? What do these things have in common? Well, they make you into a reactionary. The common thread is that they put you into a reactive mode. They cause you to think about what you will do next. To work on your project, you need to be in a creative frame of mind, which is the opposite of a reactionary one. To look at this another way, you make it more likely that you'll get distracted by putting yourself in a reactionary mode. And so the hack is to keep yourself in a creative frame of mind for as long as you need to, and to avoid deliberately doing things that will cause you to switch into a reactionary mode. Now, I have to tell you, you're not alone. All of us struggle with this to a greater or lesser extent every day. And that's because there are so many things clamoring for our attention. Not only that, but life doesn't stand still while we try to get on with our work. In fact, it can feel like life is doing everything possible to keep you from it. And it requires immense discipline to break habits like this. And this is a habit. It's the habit of deliberately putting yourself into a reactionary frame of mind before you do your creative work. And so to break that habit, you have to train yourself to do the opposite. There are a couple of really good questions that you can ask yourself that will help. The first one is what I'm about to do going to get me closer to my goal? If the answer is yes, then you can ask yourself the second question. Is this the right time to do it? You see, the right thing can become the wrong thing if you do it at the wrong time. And that means that these questions will keep you out of trouble. You know, it's really easy to become self-distracted, but you can defeat distractions by focusing on those things that keep you in a creative frame of mind. Because when you're distracted, you're reacting to something else. Until next time,